Good day everyone, I am Medico Rowena and today I will discuss to you about the history of mathematics during Greek and Roman. As the Greek Empire began to spread the sphere of influence into Asia Minor, Mesopotamia, and beyond, the Greeks were smart enough to adapt useful elements from the societies they conquered. This was as true of their mathematics as anything else, and they adopted the elements of mathematics from both the Babylonians and Egyptians. They soon started to make an important contributions on their own right, and for the first time, we can acknowledge contributions by individual. So, by the Hellenistic period, the Greek had presided over one of the most dramatic and important revolutions in mathematical thought of all the time. Ancient Greek numerical system, known as Attic or Herodianic numerals, was fully developed by about 450 before Christ era or BCE, and in regular use possibly as early as 7th century BCE. But most of the Greek mathematics was based on geometry. Thales, one of the 7 sages of the ancient Greece, who lived on the Ionian coast of Asia Minor in the first half of 6th century BCE, is usually considered to have been the first to lay down guidelines for the abstract development of geometry. Although what we know about his work, such as on similar and right triangles, now seems quite elementary. Thales established what has become known as Thales' theorem, whereby if a triangle is drawn within a circle with the long side as the diameter of the circle, then the opposite angle will always be a right angle. He is also credited about another theorem, also known as Thales' theorem or the intercept theorem, which is all about the ratios of the line segments are created if two intersecting lines are intercepted by the pair of parallels. However, the legend of the 6th century BCE mathematician Pythagoras of Samos has become synonymous with the birth of Greek mathematics. Indeed, he is believed to have coined both the words philosophy, which means the love of wisdom, and mathematics, which means that which is learned. Pythagoras was perhaps the first to realize that the complete system of mathematics could be constructed, where the geometric elements corresponded by the numbers, or with the numbers. Hippocrates of Chios was one of the Greek mathematicians during the 5th century BCE. His contribution to the squaring the circle problem is known as the Loon of Hippocrates. His influential book, The Elements, was the first compilation of the elements of geometry, and his work was an important source of the Euclid's later work. Perhaps the most important single contributions of the Greeks was the idea of proofs and the deductive method of using logical steps to prove and disprove theorems from initial assumed axioms. Older cultures like the Egyptians and the Babylonians had relied on inductive reasoning, that is, using the repeated observations to establish the rules of thumb. It is the concept of proof that gives mathematics its power and ensures the proven theories are as true today as they were 2,000 years ago, and which laid the foundations of the systematic approach to mathematics of Euclid and those who came after him. And now let's proceed to the next topic, which is the history of mathematics in Roman. And by the middle of the 1st century BCE, the Romans had tightened their grip on the old Greek and Hellenistic empires, and the mathematical revolution of the Greeks ground to halt. Despite of all their advances in other respects, no mathematical innovations occurred under the Roman Empire and the Republic, and there were no mathematicians of note. The Romans had no use for pure mathematics, only for its practical applications, and the Christian regime that followed it. The Roman numbers are very well known today, and were the dominant numbers for trade and administration in most of Europe for the best part of millennium. It was decimal base 10 system, but not directly positional and did not include a zero. So that, for arithmetic and mathematical system or purposes, it was a clumsy and inefficient system. It was based on letters of the Roman alphabet, such as I, V, X, L, C, D, and M, combines to signify the sum of their values. Later, a subtractive notation was also adapted, where VIII, for example, was replaced by IX, or 10 minus 1 equals 9. V is equivalent of 5, X is equivalent of 10, and I is equivalent of 1, which simplified the writing of numbers a little but made calculations even more difficult. And due to the difficulty of written arithmetic using Roman numerical notation, calculations were usually performed with an abacus, based on earlier Babylonian and Greek abaci. And that's all about my report. Thank you!